Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i sayyidul mursaleen, nabiyyana sayyidina wa maulana Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, wa ba'd. Inna alhamdulillah, nahmadahu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل فی الارض خلیفہ صدق اللہ العلی العظیم. بلند آواز سے درود پاک کا ہدیہ پیش کریں. Recite durud and salawat upon the Messenger of Allah, the noble companions, the Ahl Bayt, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's honorable and modest wives. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alika wa ashabika wa azwajika وعلماء أمتك وشهداء أمتك وأولياء ملتك يا رسول الله يا حبيب الله. All praises are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek His aid and His assistance. We ask for forgiveness and we seek refuge in Allah from the evil from our souls and from the evil from our actions. Whoever Allah guides, none will be able to mislead him. And whoever He leads astray, no one can guide him. I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I testify that there is no deity to be worshipped except Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger of Allah. Dear respected brothers who are gathered here today at the Makkah Islamic Center, I greet you with the greetings of peace of Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear respected brothers and sisters who are watching online, I greet you with the greetings of peace of Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The topic today that's going to be discussed is a serious topic. It is a topic which is in Zururiyat and Fiqh as well, Usul-e-Fiqh, but also is a necessity. It's wajib. To understand that, somebody has asked me to speak about it because it is necessary to speak about it now. The Khilafah or the Khalifat. What is the Khilafah according to the Quran and Sunnah? Establishing the Khilafah, the Sahaba Ridwan, and in Dar-e-Islam, how do we establish Khilafah in Dar-e-Islam? And what is your duties in Darul Harb, which is Darul Kufar, in this country that we're living in? What is terrorism? What is extremism? In the light of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahl Haq. From the mazhab and the doctrine of school of the Ash'ira and Maturidi, and the aqeedah of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the mazhab of the four school mazhabs of the Hanafi, Shafi, Hanbali, and the Maliki. The Khilafah means khalaf. It comes from the word khalaf, meaning something that will leave behind. So here in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in chapter 2, verse number 30, He's saying, "Oh Muhammad, remember that we gathered the angels and we told them that we're going to establish a khalifa, a vice regent in the world." Now this is a long ayat. I don't have too much time to go in tafsir, but gradually I'm going to make you understand what it meant. this ayat was not just particularly to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, because the conversation afterwards, the angels have said, Ya Allah, are you going to create them, human beings who are going to create mischief on the earth? That murad cannot be to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, because all Nabis are masoom. They cannot create mischief on the earth. So what was the murad, what was the meaning of the angels understanding this? It was for generations and generations for Ibn Adam to establish the Khalifa, the Khalifat. In the Khilafat, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, there's going to be a prophetic Khilafat, which is going to last for 30 years. And whoever is going to obtain on that will be going into Jannah. So 30 years, when the Sahabis, after the wasal of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Nabuwat is closed. No one can fulfill the doors of Nabuwat, of Khatim al-Nabiyyin. Let's not mix. And from other firqas as well. Nabuwat's door is closed, but there has to be a party, a ruling group that can take over Islamic rights. And that is called the Khilafah. When the Muhajirs and the Ansar gathered together, they spoke and they mediated for after Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who was the most in matters of aql, political, warfare, distribution, hudud, had, and who was baligh, and the main one that people are forgetting, which the Shia are forgetting to mention, is from the Quraysh. So, the Salafis have forgotten this as well. And we'll get to this into extremism and terrorism part of the bayan. So all of them appointed, and the Ansar has even said, we pledge allegiance to no one else but to Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He was the most capable in the requirements of holding the Khilafah. After Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, 2 years of Sayyidina Abu Bakr reigned his kingdom. After Sayyidina Abu Bakr, unanimously Abu Bakr have told already that after me is Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab's reign was for 10 years. Islam now is established in Syria, Africa, with the reign of Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab. In Africa, Europe, this is why the Byzantium empires, brothers, and Serbians have a grudge upon you. Because this is why we went in to the Balkans. And Sayyidina Umar Khattab and the naval commander of Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala an has went as deep as Serbia. Jang-e-Tabuk, if you look at Jang-e-Tabuk, the war of Tabuk, it was a false claim. No one came. But who was going to attack the Muslims? It was the Byzantium empires. The same empire which we now call Serbia, Yugoslavia. So now do you see what's happening in Bosnia? Do you see the hatred? Do you see the grudge? Brothers, we have to learn history. There's a long history with these people. And we'll get to that too. Same with the Zionist regime as well. And same what's happening in Palestine. And we'll tackle that issue as well. After Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab, and remember this is ijma, the one that does not have belief on Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar as the Khilafah, they're out of the fold of Islam. You need to bring Iman after Nabi that Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar are the two righteous Khalifs. Unanimously decided. Third, after Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab, the assembly was made. The assembly, and this is also our priority. For who? For the Khilafah, to the leader, the righteous man, to make an assembly as well. Muslims, don't be odd. Our Muslims, our Khalifas, were very much smarter than any of these Westerners that time. We had made assemblies, we had made governorship, we had made deputies. The Holland, even look it up in Google, Holland's prime minister has saluted Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu in his constitution. The police system, the army system, who has brought these ideas to these Westerners? We have. Animal rights, women rights is from Islam. Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab has never went to sleep until any dog, any animal has left the streets in Makkah and Medina. Who are you talking about animal rights? We haven't known about animal rights. We have forgot the tahaffuz. We have forgot to come back to Islam and understood Sharia. That's what it is. Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala an was unanimously decided after Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab with the assembly of 6 people. In those 6 people, Sayyidina Ali al-Murtaza was appointed to decide that who will be going to appoint after Sayyidina Umar Khattab, and it was to Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala an. After the years appointed, 12 years, Sayyidina Usman Ghani has reigned, the longest of the Khulafa, the most richest of the Khulafa, the one that was married to 2 daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's not forget about this either. The ones whose wealth is equivalent to who a billionaire is now, a Bill Gates, is Sayyidina Usman Ghani. Sayyidina Usman Ghani's time, his martyrdom caused a civil war. After the civil war, when unanimously again appointed, Sayyidina Ali al-Murtaza radiallahu ta'ala an was a Khalifa. And his reign was for 6 years. But before going into his Khilafah, we need to understand Asul Fiqh. There was a civil war that broke out between the Sahabas. Now this situation is amongst the Sahabas. It wasn't personal. It was about fiqh, jurisprudence. Remember the Sahabas, and amongst them there's different ranks. There were masters in Islam. They mastered. Sayyida Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha was a master in fiqh, and master in ahadith, master in math and science. Who did she learn from? No one else but the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Look at the nazar karam of our Prophet. And people call our Prophet illiterate. Ma'azallah, astaghfirullah al-azim. Then Sayyidina Ali Murtaza's ikhtilaf happened. And this is with ijtihad. And this is a condition as well for the one that can be onto the kursi of a khilafah, of the khalifa. And not going too deep, but not to stir any issues because people don't understand this issue. This issue is upon hudud and had. In Asul Fiqh, Sayyidina Ali al-Murtaza radiallahu ta'ala an was the most wise amongst the Sahabas in judgment. So when Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah said, Ya Ali, we need the killers of Usman. Look at the principles of Islam and Asul Fiqh. Sayyidina Ali Murtaza radiallahu ta'ala an said, Amir Muawiyah, this is not our time and place as yet. This is my perspective and this is the judgment. This was the ikhtilaf. There was nothing else personal. This is one of the rebellious terms as well. And we'll get to that option later. Don't get confused with this, with terrorist attacks and anything like that. This was also, and we will see when we go back to the merits of Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah right now. Now Sayyidina Ali Murtaza radiallahu ta'ala an said no, because when a civil war comes out, hudud cannot be a perspective. Simple. A had cannot be appointed to anyone. So Sayyidina Ali Murtaza's reign happened for 6 years. After 6 years, it was gone. The reign to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala an for 6 months. Now Sayyidina Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala an had so much soldiers, as much as there are mountains in Hijaz, and much power. Much gold, wealth was given to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. But because of the foretolling of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also pledges allegiance to Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala an. Understand this. Because it was foretold already. There's 2 types of khilafah. One that is amongst that we spoke about, and second, whoever Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has appointed and foretold. And amongst them is Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah. Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah's reign happened for 20 years. 20 years of his kingship. After Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala an, unfortunately, this is when the rebellious terrorist attacks occurred in the civilization of Islam. Yazid. Now, there was an assembly when Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah, remember I told you an assembly, a majlis, needs to happen when a khilafah is established. Even though Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah, on his deathbed, gave the permission, the assembly rejected it. Said, no, Yazid cannot be the appointed khilafah. So he rebelled. And we all know the story of Yazid and what he has done amongst the Muslim world. And the worst of it, Lanatullah, he has done, that he had asked the martyrdom of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala. So this is where the terrorist attack occurred. 3 types of terrorists there are. Try to understand. 1, a political, meaning in your country, someone who is appointed terrorism. That terrorism was from Yazid as well. 2nd, the terrorism, again, that we learn and understand what our shaykh and ustads have spoken about is tanzimi, organizational. So if you're part of an organization and you're doing things that are against the Sharia, against a leader, against the khulafa, that's a terrorist. And 3rd, individual terrorism. Someone who is misguided, someone that doesn't know the laws, someone who doesn't understand. He will do an act of terror based on his judgment, but not the judgment of fiqh. 3 types of terrorists that there are. Now, finishing, in Dar-e-Islam and Darul-Harb. Dar-e-Islam, the constitution of Islam needs to be formed. And the British colonialism constitution needs to diminish. If you want the reign of Imam Mahdi radiallahu ta'ala an, rahmatullah alayh, coming, you need him. The shart is you need the khilafah. How do you establish the khilafah in a Muslim world? And remember, in Darul Harb, which is here where we're living in, a khilafah cannot be restored. So if you have organizational people that are steering and telling you, let's go, mazallah, astaghfirullah, do some acts of terror, to do hamla against someone, or a building, or a person, remember, this person is misguided. Because we have to follow the rules of this country. This country has given you rights. This country has given you. Why? Because you voluntarily came here with a visa. You understand? You voluntarily came here with a visa and you're rebelling. We don't want to be amongst the terrorists that I mentioned. But here we have rights. We have rights for halal, we have rights for haram. What is right, what is wrong? We have a right to come to the masjid, places of worship. We have right to carry what we can do amongst ourselves, to carry on the Sharia amongst ourselves, but not enforce Sharia out in the public, because we're not in Dar-e-Islam. But individually, it is your priority and your duty to carry out the Sharia individually. Yes, you can call dawah and tabligh amongst those people. Yes, you could do that, but not on force. Dar-e-Islam, now the conditions of Dar-e-Islam is different. Now when you look at countries like Pakistan or Egypt, Libya, and Morocco, these people should be questioned. And these prime ministers should be questioned of what is happening in Palestine. Their primarily job was to send forces to defend the Muslim kind. So what we have learned now, that the Khilafah is not restored. So what you are seeing around you is not the Khilafah. We need to restore the Khilafah in Dar-e-Islam. That will only happen when the colonialist British Empire and the laws of that countries will diminish, and Hudud and Had and Sharia laws will apply in our Muslim countries again and regain the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It seems extreme, but it's not extreme. When Islam was ruling the world, there was rights for non-Muslims. There was rights for women. There was rights for individuals. Sharab in Madinatul Munawwara was also traded amongst the Yahud and Nasar because it was permissible for them. They had their rights. Try to understand fiqh. And now we're trying to understand now Where is ISIS? Where is Daesh? Where's who else are there? Where's the Taliban? If they are defending Islam, why come you don't see them in Palestine? This should be a primarily example that their approach and thinking is absolutely wrong as well. And they cannot be establishing the Khilafah. If they were so, they would have been in Palestine helping our brothers and sisters, but no one is helping them. So it's very important to understand extremism, terrorism, and law-abiding citizens of the country that you live in, my brothers. The Zionist regime have went to the extent of destroying a nation. If the Khilafah was restored, now this would not happen. Now the question arises, when is Imam Mahdi going to come? So Imam Mahdi, radiallahu ta'ala, is going to come when the black flags will occur from Khorasan. When independent and people from the Muslim countries come and to restore Khilafah, and then they will have Bayt al-Maqdas azad. And that's when Imam Mahdi will come. Until then, brothers, we're going to be suffering into these things until our political mamulat are not fixed. What we could do now, some people here, we were talking to me, oh, we don't want to go and protest, we don't want to do this, we have no time, it's coronavirus, it is all this, it is all that. Brothers, when your women are raped, when your sisters are being humiliated, when your brothers are being killed, when your little children are being killed and sold and raped to the Zionist people, then I would like to ask you that question. How do you like it if someone told you, why are you on the street and protesting? Protesting does a lot, brothers. The ceasefire occurred. MPs are speaking out now. There are some MPs that you could not imagine that were going to speak out. They spoke out. I congratulated Salma, Sister Salma. I wrote 1,000 letters to her until I don't get a response. Yes, I did from the Makkah Islamic Center. It's mawjood, it's online. Where are the tanzeems and the organizations and the shayukh and the imams? How come you don't hear about these organizations now? Anyone can go home and read. You need to enforce, and especially if they're in Dawah Islam, they have to declare to the Prime Minister that either that if you are not going to send forces, then we have to go liberate Masjid al-Aqsa under the banner of the Khilafah. So one of the other has to happen in Dawah Islam. Brothers, we have to cut extremism amongst ourselves here and try to understand, not to get influenced in the matters of jihad and stuff like that if you don't understand them. Secondly, again, last point before I end off. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, there is going to be 5 reigns. 5 times this transition is going to happen. The Nubuwah, after the Nubuwah, the prophetic way, which is the Khulafa Rashidin. The third way is the despotic way, which is the king. Remember, the Ottoman empires are not declared as the Khulafa. They're declared as kings, but they were under the banner of the Sharia. You can't consider them as a Khilafah. You have to consider them as kings and sultans. And Hazrat Sultan Ayyubi, for example, or Hazrat Nuruddin al-Zengi, rahmatullah alayh. And the other matter too I would like to consider for your knowledge, that anyone who has liberated and whoever has the kingship was only from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Hazrat Sultan Ayyubi rahmatullah alayh, he was the follower of the Naqshbandi silsila, of the Qadri silsila, of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. And bayat under the Sahibzada of Ghaus al-Azam, Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Wahhab al-Gilani radiyallahu ta'ala an. On the sword of Sultan Ayyubi it said, Ya Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani rahmatullah alayh. And his foretellings, everyone knew. Hazrat Nuruddin Zengi was a Shafi mazhab. All of these liberators were influenced by tasawwuf. Now, because there's evidence around you, Daesh and ISIS and them, they cannot be part of any class of people because they're doing things wrong. They kill their own people. They have killed Muslims. That is the worst thing. This is what Yazid has done. He has killed Muslims. Now do you see the traits? Now I picture this in front of you with Yazid. Now picture this with Boko Haram, and picture this with Taliban, and picture this with Daesh and all of these freedom fighters. That because they don't have a leader to guide them in the correct way. Last point I would like to connect you with. The fourth one is a tyrant ruler. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said. The tyrant ruler is who now? Is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia now is showing you that it cannot declare the Sharia under the guidelines and cannot be restoring Khilafah. Because they are promising and uniting with Zionism. There's I wrote a letter yesterday. There's 3 types of Zionists, my brothers. Remember this. Christian Zionism, Judaism, Zionism, and Islamic Zionism. Muslims are involved too. What do you think? Who are these Muslims who are involved? I'll say it openly. Saudi Arabia. So the Khilafah is not here yet. And we cannot look at them as at our leaders. And the 5th, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said the Khulafa will be restored again, and that will be from Imam Mahdi, rahmatullah alayhi, raziyallahu ta'ala. And whenever he will come, we glorify him and respect him. So brothers, in amongst you, the message is, even though there's a ceasefire, and then I got a message again coming to the Masjid al-Aqsa, there's a Hamla on Masjid al-Aqsa again, this is not going to stop. Don't stop protesting. Do what you can. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, when you have seen evil, eliminate it with your hand. If you cannot eliminate it with your hand, do it with your heart. If you can't do it with your heart, do it with, if you can't do it with your tongue, do it with your heart. And the weakest of the iman is the one who has it in your heart. Look, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam put dalil there too. Weakest of the man is the one who keeps it in your heart. Brothers, go outside. Make noise. This is your right. Don't stay at home. What are you going to do staying at home? Tomorrow is in front of the Israeli embassy. Me and you should be there at 3 o'clock, and I will keep everyone posted. Guys, this is our chance to opinionate what is true. What is in front of you is dehumanization of human beings. Forget about religious rights for a second. Human rights, equal rights are being demolished. Come for humanity if you're not religious. Is this okay in front of you what's happening? Brothers, there's going to be many excuses, but Mubarak to my brother Harun, Mubarak to my brothers here, Luqman, Imam Saab, and other brothers who come and continue to protest for every protest that we are. Brothers, we have to continue to fight, and we are not resolving for a 2-state solution. The land is and always will be for the Palestinians. وَآخِرَ دَوَانَا الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. We have a couple of announcements as well. Sunday school for the masjid's children. Sunday,